am back with you. Welcome to Henry Harvin's course on creative writing. We are going to learn about tooling your imagination with the words. So we will not go to the narrative craft and building the narrative pace and how to build the characters. But what we will understand here basically like how to tool your imagination with the words. That is important. So how to write a story, how to build a narration in the story, how to build your characters, develop your characters, how to come to a climax, how to all of that we will do here. We are going to only learn the language skills and obviously the tools that are required to learn the language skills. So that is what we are going to do here. So let me just start to share the screen with you, and I really hope you enjoy this session. Yeah, so I'm here at how to write creatively. So when you are writing creatively, language is the most important thing. Plus, you need to follow a certain writing process. If you do not follow a writing process in creative writing, most of your content goes for a toss, right? So, like if you have studied content writing, you must have studied that there is a process. You need to do the research work first, then you need to collate the data, and then you need to create your first draft, you edit your content, you proofread, and then only you publish. In creative writing, there is a writing process. Obviously, a research work is required, but then the process is a little haywired. So because it's all about creativity and not the rules. So there's a very famous writer who says that, okay, there are rules about creative writing, right? Unfortunately, no one knows what they are. So that's the expert tip that you can find on any of the reading platforms. But then yes, there are certain rules that you should follow while writing or painting with the words. So let's just begin with the creative writing, the how to write creatively, the module 2 in creative writing, which is how to write creatively. Now, the first thing is the writing process. Let me just explain to you. The first thing is the writing process. You need to write. Why you should write. Now, let me just tell you that at times it happens that most people have this issue. I'll just give you an example. I'll just take you to my Twitter account. Let me just take you to my Twitter account. Most people have this issue that I don't know where to start from. I'm not finding an opening line. I don't know how to, where to start a scene from. I don't know all of that. So what do you do in that case? What happens in that case? Do you give up writing? Do you give up writing completely, or what do you do in that case? I mean, I'm actually surprised to many people come to me and say that, okay, I didn't know where to start from. That is why I didn't write the story at all. But that's not a good choice. Let me just give you one example where I wrote the climax. See, the heroine walked up to the stage to receive the award. In her acceptance speech, she said, people will always stare at you, talk about you, make it worth their while. Somewhere in the audience, an acid attack survivor felt inspired. This is basically the climax of the story. I was traveling somewhere and then I realized, I got this idea. I was reading something, and then suddenly this idea got stuck into my mind, and I was like, okay, I must write a story around this, and I just wrote it. Okay, so what happens is at times you write the climax first, which is the plot of your story at times, right? Not necessarily the plot of your story is always the climax first, but so what you do is that you write the climax first, and then you begin writing the story around it. So it's not necessary that you have to start from the opening line. No, it is not necessary. So to follow the writing process, do not think that I have to write the opening line first and then I will go ahead and write the whole story. No, you can start with the climax, build the the middle of the story, and then come back to the opening line. That's absolutely fine. The rest, the order can be set during the editing, so don't worry about it. Right. So let me just show you the story that I had written around it. But these are at times see, I can't sleep. I feel there is an intruder in our house, whispered my wife in my ears. I woke up with a jerk, only to remember that she was killed by an intruder a month ago. Okay, now let me just see why. I think I had written a few more. See, he beat his wife every day and she was now used to it. She quietly stood up, folded the chest and kept it aside. She waited for the next day when she could win the game. See, then this is again a climax of a story. He brought her on the top of the hill. A few other men strapped her from wrists and waist. She pleaded him with folded hands, but he threw her off the cliff. Tears escaped her eyes. In a while, she was flying in the air. She Never knew paragliding would be so much fun. So I built an entire story around it. If you can see that, let me just show you the entire story that I had built around these lines. So see, so I built an entire 500 word story around it. So this was like the train chuffed from, this was a story like, I can't read the entire story in the whole session, but then the story was that the protagonist, who's a woman, she has a fear of height, and her husband takes her on a surprise tour to Darjeeling, and where she is bound to paraglide. And then she realized that, if you read the last line of the story, I'm not reading, you can find it on the Facebook. It's very easily to, if you want to read the full story, you can find it on the Facebook. So there were two more men near the cliff, and Manas rushed to them excitedly, leaving her behind. Akriti saw him paying money to them. Soon one of them started to strap Akriti from wrist and waist. Akriti quivered, pleaded Manas with folded hands, but it fell on deaf ears. As he dragged her to the edge, swish, and he pushed her off the cliff. Akriti closed her eyes as tears escaped. A few moments later, she wafted the cold air and opened her eyes amidst the plain blue sky and serene green earth. She never knew paragliding would be so much fun. Manas followed her as she landed safely on the ground. So that is how you build a story around. So what I did was that I just wrote the idea and then I built the entire story around it. So to follow the writing process, the first thing that you need to understand is it's absolutely fine to write without an order. Don't have to write the opening line first and the climax at the end. You can write the climax at first and then write the opening line in the end, right? So without edits. While you are writing, please do not edit your story or content or anything that you are writing. Please do not edit it then, right? And then when you are done with this, you have to edit your work. Edit your work ruthlessly. Just one edit is not enough. Once you have written your content already, just sit on it for 1 day or 2 days, go back to it and re-edit it and review if you have deviated from your plot or the idea. Okay, is it what you want to convey? Is it what you are trying to convey? Have you deviated from your idea or plot anywhere, right? So then you publish your content. That is the writing process that you follow in creative writing. So you never publish the first draft. A very famous writer has said that writing is an art of second thought. Never publish your first draft, because if you publish your first draft, you have actually given your content for toss to everyone, and then you have no escape. So never publish your first draft, because it is basically the first draft. It is called as a first draft. So you you write your first draft. You write your first draft because you want your content to be written. That is it, right? So it has no purpose actually. So the re-edits, the edits, the proofreading, that is only, the proofreading is correcting the grammatical. Now there is a difference between the edit and the proofreading. Let me tell you, editing is something that will add power and value to your content, while proofreading is about correcting the grammatical mistakes and the punctuations, the capitalization and all of that. Okay, and then you create a master copy. So that is what you create. That is what is called the writing process, and you must follow that writing process before publishing your content. So we will talk about publishing also, but then yes, this is something that you need to. Now this is the expert tip. If I waited for perfection, I would never write a word. Margaret Atwood, she says that, if I thought that I would start from opening line, which is perfect, she would never write a word. Even I would have not written a word if I would have waited. I have written somewhere around 1,000 stories by now, right? But if I would have waited for that perfect opening line, I could have never written a single word. So never do that. Never wait for a perfect opening line. Just start from anywhere. All right. Now coming on to creating visuals with words. The first thing that you need to create visual. Now, let me just tell you one thing that I say that she's a beautiful girl, right? She is a beautiful girl. I'm telling you something. Can you imagine something? I'm sure not, right? You cannot imagine. But when I say that, let's say she walks down the aisle in ravishing red dress with her curls placed gently on her shoulders, soft curls placed gently on her shoulders, her white flesh, soft white flesh peeping out of her laces on the dress, and she has her eyes are brightly lit up in the golden gaze, right? So all of that is you are able to imagine something. So it is called the description. So when I say that she's a beautiful girl, it is telling you something. The next thing is when I say that, when I describe the beauty of the girl, that is called description. How do you describe? There are literary devices, and then there is word choices. So we will cover all of this, creating visual with words, how we are going to do that. So the first thing is about descriptions. I might have to switch off the video for a while because yeah, so I'll also open a Word file for you so that I can help you understand a few things while, and you can also take the notes here. I hope all of you are able to see it, but the bandwidth of the internet is low, so I might have to switch off the video in a while, but then as of now it is working well. So if when my voice starts to crack, then only I will switch off the video. All right, so let me just start with the first thing, which is called descriptions. What are descriptions? Descriptions are basically, you need to touch with your descriptions, you need to touch the 5 senses of the reader. What are the 5 senses of the reader? Or a human, maybe. What are the 5 senses of a human? The 5 senses of a human are basically visual, the power to see; oral, the power to hear, your ears, right? Olfactory is the smell, power to the nose, the power to smell. Tactile is touch, the power to touch. Gustatory is the taste, the tongue. Okay, how do you touch all these 5 senses of the reader with your content? So let's just understand on a word file. So let's just understand about visuals. Okay, let's just understand. I'm just creating a bigger font so that you are able to see it. So visuals, right? How do you create the visuals in the reader's mind? So when you say that, like I said, the bride looks beautiful, right? And I write the bride walks down the aisle wearing the blush of roses on her soft cheeks, her eyes lit up in golden hue, her smile, okay, golden hue of her smile, her gentle, or maybe you can write her soft curls gently placed on her shoulders. So this is basically, you are creating the visual, you are touching, right? So you answer, here you answer the question, how does it look like? Right? How does it look like? The blush of roses, she looks like the blush of roses, right? On her soft cheeks. How are her cheeks? Now, if you don't tell the reader, yeah, that what are, if her cheeks are soft, they will not be able to get to know it. So you need to tell her the eyes lit up in golden hue. Golden hue is golden color basically. So her eyes lit up. Until you tell your reader that her eyes are lit up in golden hue, they will not be able to know it. So you need to create those visuals. And you, for creating those visuals, you need to ask yourself this question: how does it look like? Right? Whenever you are trying to describe something, you need to say that how does it look like? Now, coming on to the next part, which is called oral. So oral is basically the sounds. Now, when I say the shrieks and chirps of bird, what I am trying to say, I am trying to create. If you remember, while we were in nursery, we used to learn that nursery rhyme, Old MacDonald had a farm, right? A cluck cluck, a cluck cluck here and a cluck cluck here. So on his farm, he had some hen. So this was basically to make children understand the sounds of animals. a cow moos, right? A hen clucks, a duck quacks. So all of that are these sounds. So it is not about the sounds of birds and animals. A dog barks. So it is not only about the sounds of birds and animal. It is also about the sound of, say, train, right? For a train, you will use the sound toot, toot of the engine, chug and chuff of the train, right? Chew of the train. All of that is basically the sounds that you create in your writing. So when you use these sounds, this is called onomatopoeia, right? So this is called onomatopoeia, and onomatopoeia is something that obviously onomatopoeia will create the sounds. Like I said, the car crashed, kablam, right? This is called the onomatopoeia. So we create, let the reader hear the sounds that you are trying to generate. Now, if you ask me that where do I find these sounds from, so I don't remember all of them. So the best place is to go to yourdictionary.com. You will find almost the sounds there. And if you go here on Google, I mean, many things in writing are easy because you can find them by a simple Google search. So if you go here on Google, you can see and write that sounds of the birds, right? Sounds of the birds. Let's just see. See, sing, tweet, twitter, cheep, right? Chirp, all of that. They are piercing sound. Howl, hoot is the sound made by the owl. So you can, you know, find out everything when it comes to the sounds. Everything is available easily on Google. This is called onomatopoeia. So there is a sound for car crash. There is a sound for train. There is a sound for aeroplane. There is a sound for everything that you can find the onomatopoeia. Just go search on Google onomatopoeia and you will find it on your dictionary very easily. So half of the things are very easy to find on Google when it comes to sound. You can find all these descriptions. You can also find the adjectives that you need to create the visuals. You need some adjectives. Like I have used some kind of adjectives like blush of roses, right? Like eyes lit up in golden hue. So these are basically the adjectives that I am using. To create the visuals, you mostly need the adjectives. Obviously, to create the emotions, also you need the adjectives, and then you need the onomatopoeia to create the sounds. So this is called onomatopoeia. If you go here and do this onomatopoeia search, you will find that your dictionary article here. It is very easy. Okay, so most of the times you will find it. So this is ranking on the first page, obviously. The literarydevices.com also, it's literaryterms.net, all of that is available. So Cambridge Dictionary, see dictionary.com, literarydevices.net, all of this is available on Google very easily. If you go to literarydevices.net, onomatopoeia of a huge list of onomatopoeia, the buzzing bee flew away, the sack fell into the river with a splash, right? What is the sound of the water? Loud thump, roaring, rustling, see, different sounds of animals, groups of onomatopic words, everything is available here, right? So you can find the onomatopoeia. Always try to touch the, if you're trying to create a sound in your story, in your content, what you need to do is you have to touch the ears of the reader. Coming on to the next part, which is olfactory. Olfactory is the power to smell. So when you say that the air turned rosy, so it is a, right? It is a pleasant smell. So I don't know how many of you know it, but then there is a special word for the smell that comes after the rain, immediately after the rain. There's a special smell of mud soon after the rain, right? That is called petrichor. So all of that you can learn. See, petrichor. So this is basically the smell after the rain. It's important, right, that you should know these words, because this is how you will touch the nose of the reader. The air turned rosy. It was stinky. You know, it was, would you say that, fresh and mesmerizing, right? Jasmine-like, or you say, yeah, jasmine. It smelt like the jasmine. So all of that is basically the power to smell. It smelled salty. So you can also touch the taste bud with the smell. So all of that is done through the smell. Now coming on to the next part is tactile. So tell me the difference between, if I say that I tapped on his shoulder, right? If I say I tapped on his shoulder, when we use the word, let me just write it for you. So when I say I tapped on the shoulder and when I say I banged on his shoulder, can you feel the difference in power of touch? Right? You obviously can feel the difference in power of touch. Tapped is I have tapped him gently like this, you know, I just, it's just like that. I have to, I touched it gently. Banged is I just hit the shoulder hard. So that is how you create the touch. Tapped, banged, gently, kissed, right? All of that is basically the power of touch. So don't worry, all these words are easily available on Google. So you can just Google them out, that the words for touch or words for slap. She slapped. Slap is basically a word to show the touch only. She slapped her harder. Okay. So that is basically to show the touch part only. Now coming on to gustatory. Gustatory is the power to taste. So power to taste is basically when you have, say, this doesn't have too much to say, but then sweet, salty, sour, tangy, spicy, all of that is the power to do. So when you use these words, you are creating you are touching the sense of taste of the reader. So all of that is important to write in your content to create that visual in the reader's mind, visuals in the reader's mind, right? So coming on to, so what you do with all these things is show, don't tell. Yeah, show, don't tell, right? What you do with these, all these descriptions that you do, you touch the five senses of the reader, is that you show and not tell. So let me just tell you what is show and not tell. So the entire creative writing is basically based on show and not tell. So you don't have to tell the reader that she is beautiful. You have to show the beauty. Okay, so let me just give you a few examples of show and not tell. So this is one example wherein after the riot, Gehenna has become a ghost town. This is the, I'll just, I hope you will be able to, yeah. So after the riot, Gehenna has become a ghost town. That means this is a statement that is telling that Gehenna has become a ghost town. But when you describe it, when I'm describing it, let's just see how I have described it. The town that was, please do not take the screenshots because these are, this content is copyrighted content. The town that was, even if you take the screenshot, you cannot use it anywhere. So the town that was lit up with fire until yesterday has sunk into the deepest black smoke today. So what I have showed, deepest black smoke. Smoke is anyway gray. Why did I use that adjective? The deepest black smoke, right? The shouts, the cries, and the screams are still piercing my eardrums. It seems like these are coming from the departed soul, since I cannot see any living being. The sobs of the breeze can be heard very clearly in the deafening silence. Now I used the word silence, and then I used deafening with it, because it's completely, this is called the and acronyms. These are called acronyms. Acronyms are basically when you use an opposite word with a word to show its gravity. Okay, so the sobs of the breeze can be heard very clearly in the deafening silence. The streets groan with a mere touch of full step, and the sky has turned gravel gray in morning. I wonder if life ever existed in this town. So this is a statement where I'm not telling that this has become a ghost town, but I'm showing that this has become a ghost town. So I'm not used the words ghost town. I'll show you a simpler one maybe. Let's just say, okay, now this is how you show it. Nathaniel loved his car dearly. No, now this is a statement that tells. Now I have not used love anywhere in the entire showing statement, right? Nathaniel woke up every morning and rushed to the backyard to check the well-being of his beloved. Did you had a good night's sleep, my darling? He asked and planted a kiss on her pointed nose. Now exactly what I did is that I turned the car into a woman, because a man can fall in love with a woman, right? He bathed his girlfriend before he took a shower and sprayed the best of scents on her best of scents in her insides. Evenings were a sure shot ride with her adored across the silent streets, admiring her beauty. Though she spread her two beautiful arms to everyone, Nathaniel didn't like anyone touching her. He even hated the breeze that caressed her shiny texture. She was his prized possession, while every other man lurched at the sexy body of Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. So I have not used the word love anywhere, but I have very clearly described that there is a maddening love in the man for the car. Okay, so that is how you show and not tell. So that is the first thing that you do, right? So when you are deciding the descriptions, you need to create a Y chart. Now the Y chart is how does it look like, how does it sound like. So the Y chart will be that how does it look like and how does it sound like, and then together how does it feel like, right? That is called the Y chart. I mean, how does it feel like? How do you feel about it? How the looks and the sound, how does it make you feel about it? So that is what you call the Y chart. And you show and not tell in the creative writing. Okay, so most of the descriptive writing or the creative writing is based on descriptions and show not tell. Now there is another rule to it. So let me just take an expert tip. So Anton Chekhov says, don't tell me tell the moon is shining. One of the famous authors, don't tell the moon is shining. Show me the glitter of light on a broken glass, right? So never say that moon is shining. You should show the light of the glitter of the rays on a glass. Never say the moon is shining. Okay, fine. Now coming on to, there is something called a Goldilocks approach in show don't tell. How much you show. Now how much description is too much, right? How much description is too much? You don't have to describe everything in the content, because at times it will get too much for you to describe. So what you do here, that you follow a Goldilocks approach. What you tell and not show is simple fact. It's a simple fact. How? Now, supposedly you want to show or you want to tell in your story that your protagonist or your main character in the story is from Delhi and he is going through a very tough time in life. So what do? Do you describe about Delhi? Not really. Okay, you don't describe about Delhi because you want to describe about your character. So what you do is that you can maybe show him traveling in the Delhi metro. So that will also show that he is going through a tough time. Maybe he has lost his job or whatever. And also it will tell the reader that he is from Delhi. So here you don't have to show the Delhi metro pass in his wallet, right? So you have to only show that he is traveling in the Delhi metro and he is diving into his wallet and he didn't find money to hire an auto or to hire a taxi, right? So these are the simple facts. A simple fact that someone is sitting there is something that you don't have to really, is something that you don't have to really show. Someone is sitting, someone is from Delhi. All of that is not something that you should do every time, because that is something that you need to understand, that the simple facts that are obvious facts in writing, they are not to be shown, they are basically to be told. So all of that is important. Obvious explanations, like she was sitting there, she was reading a book, that's not something that you would always explain. No, that is something, somebody is reading a book or somebody is reading a book. No, that's not something that you need to explain in description, right? What you can explain is what she is going through, your protagonist is going through. So whenever you feel that you have added a description and it is not taking your story or your content forward anywhere, so what you do then, you just remove it. Simply just remove it, because that is not something that you are here to do. You are, anything that is boring, that is making your story or that is making your content boring, you should remove it from your description. That is not required. So simple facts, which is like my protagonist is from Delhi, that is not to be told. She's reading a book, you can explain that what she's going through, but then you don't have to explain the entire room where she's sitting in, unless it is adding value to the story. Then that is something that is specific and doesn't really require any kind of detailing. Okay, so all of that is important. Now coming on to the literary devices, we had understood here the descriptions, we had understood the What is show don't tell? I have given you a few examples of show don't tell, because show don't tell is really, really important. Okay, and the next thing is the Goldilocks approach that you should follow, what you should tell and what you should not show. So all of that is important. Now coming on to the next part, which is called literary devices. So literary devices will add beauty to your sentences, the words and the phrases that will add beauty to your sentences. So this is something really important. So there are, if you go to literarydevices.net, you will find a lot of literary devices here. I will explain the one, and onomatopoeia is also a literary device, let me tell you. Okay, so the full list of literary devices, if you see here, the full list of literary devices is here, right? So you can see that which one to use and which ones, but there are metaphors also. So you can read about the metaphors also. But what happens is that metaphors, simile, and personification are a few things that you need to keep in mind to create the visual in the reader's mind. You must use them regularly in your content. So let me just tell you what are metaphors. Metaphors are basically the direct comparison. Let me just show you. Metaphors are basically the direct comparison of qualities, of quality into things, or one thing or human. One thing and human. So if you say that he is a dangerous criminal, does it make any sense to the reader? No, not really. Does it look creative? It doesn't look creative, because this is something, a simple fact that you are telling. But if you want to bring in impact in your writing, you want your reader to be scared of this criminal, what do you do then? So you write, he is the lion of the crime jungle. Now what you're doing, you are comparing a human with the lion. This is the direct comparison. You're comparing the human with the lion of the crime jungle. So a crime is powerful, and then powerful or difficult to deal with, plus he's the lion. So he's the most dangerous man. So first thing is crime is dangerous, and then he is the lion of the crime jungle. That means he's the most dangerous man, and one should be scared of him. So your reader should be scared of him. This is called the metaphors. Now let's just see one more example. The coffee shop has become an ice box. What does it mean? Maybe the AC is too high. When you say that the AC was too discomforting, let's just write it this way, discomforting in the coffee shop. Does it make the reader feel the chills? No, it doesn't make the reader feel the chills. So what you need to write is that the coffee shop has become. Now here you are actually comparing the quality of an ice box with the coffee shop. So you're giving the qualities of the ice box to the coffee shop basically. So here this has become a metaphor that coffee shop has become an ice box, or maybe the AC was too discomforting. So writing a line that the AC was too discomforting in the coffee shop, you write less words and write the coffee shop has become an ice box. This will give more chills to the reader, and this will help your reader imagine that, okay, yes, the AC was too discomforting in the coffee shop. Okay, so this is called metaphor. So next thing is simile. Simile is basically comparing the similarities. It's very easy. Comparing the similarities, which is like you use the words like and as. These are the two words that you use. So similes you should not use very often in your very frequently, or I would say frequently in your content. What you should do is rather that you should instead use more of metaphors. So that is one example. Now coming on to this, let me just tell you that an example. She is as bright as she's as bright as Albert or I would say as bright as gold, right? So you are giving the qualities of gold too. Or she is as intelligent, or maybe you can write as clever as a fox, right? So this is not, this is something that's similar. Or she shone like a, or let's just say she melted like an ice cream under the hot sun. This means that she was maybe furious and then she melted, she gave away all her anger. So all of that is basically the simile. When you give the comparing the similarities of two things. Coming on to next thing, which is called personification. Personification is very simple. Personification is, right, when you give human characteristics to inanimate objects. Okay, so the first thing is, let's just say the sky is full of dancing stars. So can stars dance? No, humans can only dance. So dancing is a human characteristic and you are giving it to stars. So that is why it is called personification. The second thing would be the sun greeted me this morning. Can sun greet you? Only humans can greet you in the morning or maybe in the evening, whatever. But then yes. So when you are giving that human characteristic to sun, which is inanimate object, you know, it is called personification. So when you say that when like the trees were dancing, or let's say the branches were dancing to the tunes of sultry breeze. So the branches are not humans. Branches cannot dance. Only humans can dance. And you are giving that human characteristic to branches, that the branches were dancing to the tunes of sultry breeze. So this is called personification. So at times, like you saw in that Nathaniel the one I showed you, the Nathaniel car. So I personified the car as a human, as a woman. Let me just show you once again the Nathaniel wala. So this is also a form of personification, that I made a car a human and then described its beauty. This is also a very clear example of personification, right? I have given human characteristics, like I said that her pointed nose. This is again personification, right? I talked about the pointed nose of the car. That means the front of the car, and obviously this has become, this is a very good example of personification. Okay, fine. So I turned a car into a woman and described its beauty, and that is why it is called personification. So anytime when you give, like if you describe a river as a woman, that you know her waves are long silky hair, you know her she's wading fun while dancing on the roads. So that is become that means you have turned a river into a woman and you are trying to explain the beauty of the river. So that is something that you need to understand about personification. That is called personification. So when you personify any non-living or inanimate object as a human is called personification. I hope that is clear to you. Now coming back to the metaphors. Metaphors are basically when you write, there are two types of metaphors. One is a cliche metaphor. We are coming back to metaphors. So one is a cliche metaphor and one is a unique metaphor. So what you need to write in your writing is a unique metaphor. Let me just show you. One is a cliche metaphor and the other one is a unique metaphor. So you need to write the unique ones. So cliche would be, you know, she wore the red, she or like she smelt, she wore the redness of roses and she wore the blush of new bride. Which one looks powerful? So the redness of roses, the softness of cotton, softness of clouds, all of that is cliche metaphor. Cliche is something that people have been using it for a while, for people have been using it for ages. You should not use it. Use the unique metaphors as unique as you can. So obviously, you can Google around that, say metaphors for softness. Go here and type metaphors for softness. Metaphors for softness. You go here and you will find, right, soft similes, metaphor effects, hardness, softness, as soft as, similes.com. All of this is available on Google. Very metaphor example, sensory. See, everything is available here. You can find words very easily on Google. So don't worry. One more thing that I would recommend you to do is subscribe to the blog of Your Dictionary and literarydevices.net. These are the blogs. So you can subscribe to their blog and you will get, and then you can subscribe to the blog of Grammarly also. I'll tell you the tool as well. Okay. So this is about the metaphors or literary devices. Now coming on to the word choices. So word choices is the most important part when you decide to write creatively. If your words are wrong, you have a simple problem that your words are not painting, because in creative writing you are painting with the words, and you must create content or write-ups that create visuals. So if your words are not powerful, or if your words are not beautiful enough to create the visuals in the reader's mind, your writing has gone for a toss completely. It will not be accepted by the readers. So the first thing in word choices is important, that you have to replace the adverbs. The first thing is adverbs. Do not use adverbs. So if you want to write, say, quickly, let's say, he quickly rushed out, or I would say he quickly went out of the house. And then you write, he rushed out of the house. There is, what is more powerful, right? So maybe you write that walking heavily. This is an adverb. So what do you write? Stomping, right? Or say walking slowly is ambling. So all of these, never try to use adverbs into your writing, because Stephen King says that the road towards hell is paved with adverbs. So do not use hurriedly, walk slowly, smartly, all of these. Anything, the adverbs are not required in your writing. So you have to remove the adverbs from your writing, because that is something that will completely kill your content. So don't write all of these. If you're trying to write walking slowly, if you're not able to find the word, just Google it. One word for walking slowly. Let me just give you, see, you're getting thesaurus.com, subscribe, and there is one tool called wordhippo.com. One of the most important. What is another word for walk slowly? See, you get all of this here. So there is something called wordhippo.com. So anything, supposedly you want to find synonyms, you want to cite definitions. Let's say talk slowly, talk slowly, or talk low. You don't know you don't want to use the word called whisper, and you try to find it, talk low. So wordhippo.com is a very powerful tool. See, whisper, murmur, mumble, mutter, right? All of the words are available here. So wordhippo.com is one important tool that you can use. I'm writing it here for you, which is called wordhippo.com. So this is an important tool. I told you 3 tools by now. yourdictionary.com, wordhippo.com, and then you have literary devices, literarydevices.net. All of this is the 3 tools I have told you, right? These are important tools that you should know. Wordhippo.com. Never write redundant phrases. Now, what are redundant phrases? Let's just understand. How many of you understand the redundant phrases at the first place? What are redundant phrases at the first place? And how many of you understand that what are redundant phrases? Redundant phrases are phrases which are basically, you have been using for a while, but they do not add any value to your content. Like, let's just understand anonymous stranger. So a stranger is always anonymous. He is never a known person, right? Then you should say armed gunman, right? Armed gunman. So who is an armed gunman? An armed gunman is always armed. So you don't need armed here, right? This is not required. Anonymous here is not required. Gunman is anyway armed with gun, okay? So when you write every single person or every single day, so every means what? Right? You write every day. You don't have to write this. So assemble together. Do you assemble separately also? You don't, right? All of that are the content or the redundant phrases that you have been writing so far in your writing. So let me just give you a list of these redundant phrases that I have, that you can note it down. One is future plans. So you always plan for future. You don't plan for the past, right? Frozen ice is never melted. And then you have for a brief moment is always a brief period of time. So you don't write you can write a brief period of time, but you don't write for a brief moment. You don't do that. Okay. Then you write about integrate with each other. You always integrate with each other. You don't integrate separately. And then you have knowledgeable expert. An expert is always knowledgeable. Okay. Then most unique. Unique is anyway the most unique things, right? Personal opinion. Opinion is always personal. Past experience. Experiences are never from future. So lift up. You don't lift in downwards direction. Kneel down. You don't kneel in upward directions. Later time. Time is always later. Okay. Made out of. A lot of people do this mistake. Made out of. Don't do this. Made of. Right? Major breakthrough. Breakthrough is always major. Meet with each other. Right? So meet with each other is obviously you're meeting with each other. No, you don't meet alone. Okay. Never before. That is again a redundant phrase. It is always never. When it is never, it has never happened before. Okay. All right. New innovations. Innovation is always new. Okay. Outside in the yard. Yard is never in the home. So remember all of that. Palm of my hand. Palm is always off your hand. It is never off your feet. Pick and choose. So when you choose, when you're picking something, you are anyway choosing. So it is always pick and not pick and choose. Okay, protest against. Protest is never in favor. It is always in against. Then you have fell down. You don't fall up in upward direction. You never fall up. Okay, spell it out in detail. When you are spelling it out, you are anyway giving out the details. So you don't have to write everything. So these are called, the redundant phrases that you use in your writing. So when you use redundant phrases in your writing, half of your writing is killed. Because when a reader is reading, so when it is creative writing, now let me tell you that your target audience or your reader is an avid reader most of the time. Okay, so if you use these redundant phrases, it will put off your reader. It will make your content look hard to read, difficult to read, and hard to read. Let me just tell you that I told you in the first module that hard to read is equal to won't read. So you have to keep your content simple, crisp, and also engaging. Not catchy here, but engaging. So you need the engagement here. Okay. So that is what you do in. Now coming on to the next thing, which is you should never use very in your content. A few words not to use. Very, absolutely. Right? All of these are suddenly, avoid these, please. Unless it is absolutely important or unless it is, you cannot write without it, please don't. Very though, it's a big no-no. Very is a big no-no. You cannot use very in your content. No, it's absolutely no-no to use very in your content. So whenever you want to, you are not able to find a word in replacement of very, you can again Google it around. Wordhippo.com will be the best thing to go and check for these words like very and all of. Let me just give you a few words. When you are trying to say very noisy, it is deafening. Very often, it is frequently. Very good, excellent. There is always one word for very. Okay, anytime you want to use very, there is always a word for that. Very old fashioned, ancient, very simple, basic, very shy, timid, very short, brief, very shiny, gleamy, very sharp is keen, right? Very serious is grave, very scary, chilling. All of that you can find on your all of those words can be found on Words Hippo. Plus, there is always a, you just go here and there will be a list how to, let's just go Google how to replace. See, I am telling you the word very, right? So I think, see, excellent, very good, exact, very accurate, simple, right? Never use very. Even if you are writing creatively or you are writing content or you are doing content writing, please don't use very in your content. There's 128 modifiers. See, 100 plus words to use instead of very. You will find everything. So at times I also don't remember the words to use in very. But then yes, so this is the poster that I have always been. I have saved this poster in my diary. This is one of the poster that is very important and that is published on. See, let me just show you. Globify English words to use instead of very. So this is one of the very important posters. See, right? Created by proofreadingservices.com. Do not use very in your content, please. Right? Very mean, cruel, very messy, slovenly, very necessary, essential. So this is easily, you can find it very easily. Okay, excellent, very good, exact, very accurate. So don't use very in your content. Again, you should remove, absolutely, you should remove suddenly, unless it is, unless you have to show something that has happened out of the blue, don't use suddenly, right? So suddenly doesn't add value to your content. It only adds weight to your content. Very, suddenly, absolutely, redundant phrases, they always add weight to your content. Okay, they do not add any value to your content. So you should cut the extra weight from your content at all costs. Okay, now cut these are called the fluff words. Okay, very, absolutely, really, these are called the fluff words. All of these are first fluff. So expert tip. Okay, I shared this with you. I believe the road to hell is paved with adverbs. So if you follow Stephen King, he says that the road to hell is paved with adverbs. So don't have to use very anywhere. Now coming on to building vocabulary, if you want to build your vocabulary, you can go to dictionary.com. Let me just show you this. So because do not use, there is a very famous conversation between Sudha Murthy and Shashi Tharoor. Let me just tell you. And they say that Sudha Murthy says that if she has to read Shashi Tharoor's content, she has to dive into the dictionary, right? So the audience that will dive into the dictionary while reading your content is just the 10%. So if you write very difficult English, if you use too heavy vocabulary in your content, it will not be read. So if your reader has to dive into the dictionary every now and then, they will put off, right? And they will be put off and they will not read your content. So don't make your content hard to read. Don't make your writing or stories hard to read. You have to make them easy to read. And what happens is that what I'm suggesting you is you can go to dictionary.com. Dictionary.com is a tool. You can go to the end and it will also show you can put your email ID and then one word every day will fall in your email with the pronunciation and with the usage, right? Like this is the word of the day. You go and see. Paraselini. So this is basically let me just show you. Paraselini. So this is a new word. So if you receive 30 words in a month, you will end up remembering 2 of them. If you remember remembering 2 of them, at the end of the year, you remember 24 new words. So it's not necessary that you remember all of them. So I get 30 words in a day, 30 words in a month, or maybe 31 words in a month. I remember only 2 or 3 of them, right? So at times you will find a very simple word in your mailbox, which is like vacuum. So how many of you feel that the vacuum spells like VACCUM? Many of you, I'm sure. So many of you feel that vacuum spells like this. No, it spells like this. See, vacuum. See, and then at times you do not know the pronunciations. Like this is called epitome and not epitome. Many of you pronounce it as epitome. See, epitome. Epitome, right? This is not pronounced as epitome. So a lot of you are making these mistakes, but then this can be sorted out. Like a lot of you are pronouncing it as cache. Let's just see. See, this is pronounced as cache. See, this is not pronounced as cache. A lot of you are pronouncing it as cache. This is pronounced as cache. Okay, so at times you will find a very simple word falling into your mailbox whose spelling or pronunciation you must not be knowing. So just subscribe to this dictionary.com because this is important. And then there is an application called nudge.me. This is basically a game that you can play every day. Let me just show you nudge.me. This is a game that you can play every day, right? This is a game that you can play every day. Just download this app. This is available for Android and iOS both. And you can play this game every day for at least next 21 days or 31 days. And your vocabulary and English will be on the next level. All right. And the third thing that I'm going to share with you is obviously the rule that I had shared with you in the first module, which is you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. Okay. So that is how you build your vocabulary. Now coming on to the next thing, which is sentence formation. So when you are writing sentence, now let me just tell you that there are only a few sentences that you can, four types of sentences. Let me just show you the 4 types of sentences that we have. One is a simple sentence, which has a simple clause, an independent clause, an independent clause, a verb, and of course a subject, right? So I love my daughter, or maybe I wish to become a creative writer. Let's just say I will take a difficult sentence because this is creative writing. We will take a creative sentence. Okay. And then there is a next thing which is called the compound sentence. So compound sentence would be when you join compound sentence. So compound sentence would be when you join 2 simple sentences with a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunction. When you join 2 simple sentences with a coordinating conjunction. So supposedly I write that I wish to become a creative writer. I do not know where to start from, right? Now these are 2 simple sentences. I join it with a coordinating conjunction. I wish to become, okay, why am I writing again? I wish to become a creative writer, comma, and I do not know where to start from. So why I used a comma here? Because these are 2 independent clauses. When there is a dependent clause, like I wish to become a creative writer, and say, and a content creator too, then there will not be a comma, right? Because you are giving to you are adding something to the, you're not adding another clause to the sentence. So whenever you are not adding another clause to the sentence, then you need not give the comma there. This is the punctuation rule. So I'll tell you how to check these punctuations. So don't worry, there is a tool to check all of this. So coordinating conjunctions are, let me just tell you what are the coordinating conjunctions. Fanboys, DOYS. So for and, let me just write it for you. This is for, this is and, this is nor, this is but, this is or, this is yet, and this is so. So I have written so in capital. Rest I have written in small. So you'd never start a sentence with the coordinating conjunction. You can start a sentence with so, but you can never start a sentence from for, and, nor, but, or, yet. No, you never do that, right? So here you can start a sentence from neither, and here you can start a sentence from either, and here you can start a sentence from though, but you never start a sentence with nor, or yet. Okay, so that is why it is called they are called the coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are basically required to add only two simple clauses and or two simple sentences. Never start a sentence with a coordinating conjunction, and that is the rule in creative writing. Never do that. Okay, so if you do that, it will break the flow of reading for your reader. If you do that, if you start a sentence with a coordinating conjunction, it will completely break the flow of the reading. So don't do that. Okay, now coming on to punctuate it right. So obviously you know how to use a full stop, you know where to use a comma. There is some the one most important punctuation that I tell you is ellipses that you use in creative writing. So ellipses are: she was skeptical. Let's just say skeptical. Now you will use 1, 2, 3. How many of you use more than 3 dots? It's only the 3 dots always. These are called ellipses. Okay, to bring in more impact, to let the reader pause and soak in what he has or she has read. Okay, that is called ellipses. So she was skeptical. Was she, maybe I'll say that, was she ready to live, or or did her life come to an end? So all of that is called ellipses. So you can use 3 exclamation marks together. You can use like what, 3 question marks to show the emphasis that she was astonished or the character was astonished. Okay, when you mostly the ellipses are used when you are giving dialogues in in creative writing or in story writing. Otherwise, you don't use ellipses. Ellipses are required to soak in the content or the emotion that you have just given. Okay, so all of that is a part of ellipses. Now she was skeptical was and you can use any punctuation marks. Rest I'm sure you know where to use the comma, where to use the full stop, where to use the question mark, where to use the exclamation marks. I'm sure you know. Exclamation marks will be used when you are trying to show an expression, right? Like, hey. So that means somebody is really happy to see someone, right? When you show or emphasize an emotion, surprise, or anything, then you use the exclamation marks. Rest I'm sure you know. Now coming on to the next thing, which is the semicolon. So semicolon is also used in creative writing. So when you are not using this coordinating conjunction and you want the reader to take a pause, you will use a semicolon. Okay, so if you don't want to use a conjunction there, you want to give reader a pause, soak in what he has said. So this is mostly used in very deep meaning sentences. You know, when you are trying to give a message, when you are trying to give a deep meaning, when you are trying to give emphasis on something, then only you will use the semicolon. Okay, so this is the semicolon. So this is how you punctuate right. And then coming back here, add some emotion and not sentimentality. So when you say she was crying, this is sentimentality, right? Or she was, let's say, she was on the verge of crying, broken, she sat curled with let's say, pieces of her broken heart in her eyes. This is, you are showing the pain. Here you are showing, you are not telling, let me tell you. So there's a difference between showing and telling, and then there is a difference between sentimentality and emotion. But you are trying to show that she's heartbroken, right? You are doing a right job if you are showing it. But how you are throwing the sentimentality here. You should never throw the sentimentality in creative writing. You should always throw the emotion. So that how will you write it? That she held her tears in her eyes and smiled. The broken pieces of her heart pierced her eyes, but she drank the blood with the moon lit, okay, with the glass of wine, and in the moonlit night she was alone amidst the crowd. That is how you throw the emotion. So you don't have to show somebody crying. You have to hold the tears back and let the reader cry. So that is what you have to do. Okay. So this is called sentimentality versus emotion. So you don't have to throw the sentimentality. You have to throw the emotion to the reader, right? Add some emotion in your content. Now coming on to the next part, which is fiction writing. Fiction writing is anything which is fictional. So let me just tell you that anything that is imaginative, or it can be inspired from real life. Like if you read a story, if you see the movie, let's just discuss about the movie Chapak. I'm sure all of you have seen that one recent movie by Deepika Padukone. So that is inspired from real life, real incidents and real experiences. Yet it is considered as fictional. Why? Because there is an element of, they have stretched the truth to some level. It's not exactly, they have changed the name of the characters. So this is stretching the truth. You should not, when you are writing fiction, anything, even if it is inspired from real life, and if the truth is stretched to a certain level, or you have cooked anything, or it is not completely true, is fiction. Okay. So, or something that is cooked, that is the recipe of your brain and not true, is basically fiction. So fiction writing is that. Now non-fiction writing, now coming on to non-fiction writing. Non-fiction writing would involve real people, real places, or real events. So most of the documentaries are non-fiction. Okay. So it will only contain the fact, it will not contain anything else. Okay. And then it is written to express or to inform. So most of the news stories that you read in the newspaper, right, they are a form of non-fiction writing. The travel blogs, they are the form of the non-fiction writing. The memoirs, they are the form of non-fiction writing, because you are writing it out of your memories, and you are informing the reader that what had happened. So non-fiction writing is primarily what had happened, or what who were the real people associated to it. Anything which is real is non-fiction. Okay. So in short, so right, non-fiction would be, memoir, how to, writing a memoir, writing opinions, essays, it's creativity, writing about art and culture, any of the historical accounts. Like if you have read um, the uh, the Last Badshah, the Last Mughal, one of the most important books in the history of Indian Mughal history. That is, I don't remember the name of the author, but then this is called The Last Mughal. It is based on Bahadur Shah Zafar, right? It is based on, let me just show you The Last Mughal. I will find it, The Last Mughal book, right? So let me just show you. It's available. Let me just show you. See this one, The Last Mughal. This is based on, this is a paperback version. This is the perfect example of non-fiction book. This is an historical account and a perfect example of non-fiction book. This is basically based on Bahadur Shah Zafar, and it tells the reader that if Bahadur Shah Zafar had taken a few decisions, India's history would have changed. Okay, a lot of things would have changed. It is 7th November 19 in Rangoon. A shrouded corpse is escorted by a motley crew of British soldiers, right? A nondescript grave is ready inside the prison premises. The British officers in charge insist that no one is able to locate the last resting place of Bahadur Shah Zafar II, the last Mughal. Right. So this is written by, William Dalrymple. So this is one of the best books that I have read about the Indian Mughal history. Okay, Mughal reign, basically. So this is based on Bahadur Shah Zafar. So you can find it very easily, The Last Mughal. Okay, now coming on to the reviews the book reviews, they are obviously your opinions. So mostly your opinion, book reviews, product reviews. If you write there, you write product review very creatively, because you know why the people would buy, why people would buy it otherwise. So you have to show your creativity while writing the reviews. Okay. So in short, if it is if a writing reports the truth, it's non-fiction. If it stretches the truth, it's fiction. Like I said, Chapak, you know, the character's name is changed, the place is changed, and all of that. So this is stretching the truth. So this is called non-fiction. It has become fiction. Okay. Now the tools to write that I told you, obviously. Now the most important tool that I want to show you is Grammarly. So when I say that your content has to be grammatically correct, the most important tool that you need to check your content is Grammarly. So there are two versions available for Grammarly. One is paid and one is free version that you can use. And I think I had showed this tool in the first module also, but let's just repeat it. So Grammarly is something that can help you write your content grammatically correct, right? So let's just go here. So this is the content that I have written, okay? And it will check the content for almost everything. See, the correctness, clarity, engagement, delivery, okay. Okay, so all of that is C. So you have to read your content. This will clear all your punctuation errors, words. So if you're working on the, let me just tell you, I'm working on the paid version. But then if you are working, if you're working on the free version, it will actually correct your content grammatically. But a few things like word choices and all, it will not suggest. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. Now, coming back to your presentation, that these are the tools to write. You can use Grammarly. You can use Ritco is an app that you can download on your phone. Evernote is again an app that you can download on your phone. This will help you keep a track of your notes and ideas, and it will help you curate you can write whenever you have a thought or whenever you have the idea, you can write it down. This is like the substitute of Google Keep. Okay, then there is ProWriting8 and dictionary.com. I told you wordhippo.com is another tool, right? So this is all about writing, how to write creatively. So I will see you in the next module when we learn about story writing, the basics of story writing. And I really hope you've been enjoying these videos from Henry Harvin Education. If you have any questions, I think you can mail it to Henry Harvin and it will reach me. So we will answer that as well. Okay. All right. So thank you for being with us, and I'll see you in the next video.